what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2018 Karma Revero. Up front is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline-4 that acts as a generator to the two electric motors out back, as well as that is all paired to a single speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Karma Revero for one reason. I have not driven one before. This car has an incredibly interesting backstory and history. What the heck is this thing? It is not a Fisker, and we'll talk a lot about that here in a second. But if you would like to share your cool or interesting vehicle with me, you can head on over to my website, zachpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But I normally don't start the video off with this. I normally talk about a company's history or car history at the end of the video, but I think this particular vehicle needs context. So what you're looking at is a Karma Revero from 2018. However, back in the early 2010s, this was actually built by a different company named Fisker. That was the Fisker Karma. Fisker is a whole story on its own. What started off as a passion project from Heinrich Fisker, who was an ex-BMW and Aston Martin employee, sought fame quickly and then nothing. It went bankrupt after only a few years. The brand had one coach-built convertible based off a Mercedes and their flagship car, which was the Fisker Karma. I'll save the whole story of the Fisker Karma for whenever I review one of the originals, but basically they didn't sell well and the company closed their doors after making less than 3,000 units. After the doors were closed, a Chinese company bought up all of the tooling and all of the assets from Fisker and moved them from Finland to California. They then began constructing their own cars under the new name of Karma Automotive, of which their first car was this, the Revero, a nearly bolt-for-bolt copy of the Fisker Karma. Now, Karma Automotive did make a lot of improvements to this vehicle, and we'll talk about that shortly. But also, to add to the confusion, Heinrich Fisker recently started a new company called Fisker Incorporated instead of Fisker Automotive, which is now making cars like the Fisker Ocean. The car in this video has absolutely nothing to do with the new Fisker Ocean or the Fisker company as a whole. They sold off their assets and they're no longer connected, but they're now back in the car business. It's like breaking up with your girlfriend and letting her keep your sweatshirt, but months later you see her new boyfriend wearing your sweatshirt. It's not illegal, but it feels like it should be. And so that's how we get the Karma Revero. It's a relaunch of a car from a different company and is sold in very limited numbers. For 2018, they made around 800 of these for the entire country. And although it is a Chinese-owned brand, they're actually built here in America for the American market. So with that stuff out of the way, if you can wrap your head around all of that, let's get back to that drivetrain. Well, like I said up front, is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline-4. It's actually an Ecotec engine. If you're familiar with the Cobalt SS, you might recognize a couple bits from this engine. That is it. However, the engine up front, although it's mounted like any other engine would be, it actually has no connection to the drive wheels. It acts solely as a generator for the electric motors, of which there are two electric motors out at the back. So the Karma Revero makes 403 horsepower, but 981 pound-feet of torque. That is an insane number. And to be honest with you, you don't really feel any of it. This car does not feel fast. It's quick, and in EV mode, you certainly feel the power, but it's not anywhere near those numbers, at least in terms of my butt dyno. We'll put it into sport mode here, which does activate the gas engine and the electric motors together. Yeah, I mean, it gets up and goes for sure, but not what it sounds like on paper. That is for gosh darn sure. Now, last but not least about the drivetrain specifically is that it is rear-wheel drive. So there's one motor at each rear wheel, offering a luxurious rear-wheel drive experience. So how does it feel to drive a Karma Revero? Well, this car really, for all intents and purposes, is an EV. It's a very EV driving experience. Now, I mostly have been driving the car in stealth mode, which we'll talk about the drive modes here in a second, but it is an EV. It just has a generator on board, much like the Chevy Volt. So if you run out of electricity, you can still drive your vehicle. It only has a 9.5 gallon tank, which the owner, Michael, says has been rather an issue if you do drive it long distances like he did back from LA. So something to note, but you can fill up at any regular gas station. The steering is a little heavy, but you know, to be expected from a big vehicle like this with big wheels. Visibility is okay. It's not terrible, but it's not good in my opinion. The biggest thing is that this car feels large because it is large. However, in the way that it's classified, it's actually classified as a subcompact because of the interior space, which is very minimal. There's always a caveat here with the Revero, and that is one of them. But with all of that out of the way, let's get on to the interior, although I don't know if it's gonna be any less complicated. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster, and I think aesthetically, it's really, really good. It's interesting to look at. It gives me all of the information that I want without too much clutter, and artistically, it actually looks pretty decent, and I really, really like that. I like my speed in the middle. My fuel gauge is this sort of winged level bar. It makes me feel like I'm in a video game. The only interesting thing is that down below, there's this blue bar, and the owner has no idea what it does. The mechanic at the Karma dealership has no idea what it does. So if anyone has any insight into what the heck this blue bar is, please let me know, because I see it changing while I drive, but it doesn't seem to be in relation to throttle input. It seems to be some type of usage gauge, because when I floor it, it goes down, but then it regenerates. I have no idea. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my volume selector and phone options, and off to the right, I have my mute, voice commands, and my cruise control options. However, we do have some interesting paddles around the back. So the left paddle is your drive mode paddle. So there's 3 different drive modes here in the Karma Revero. We have stealth, which is going to be all EV. We have sustain, which is going to kick on the gas motor to generate charge for the battery and hold it at whatever percentage it's at. And then we have sport mode, which is going to engage the gas engine to make more power. I've been driving it around in stealth mode because why not? And that's weird that the drive modes are on a paddle, but off to the right, we have our regenerative braking paddle, which isn't anything too crazy for hybrids, although this makes a different chime for each setting. So hopefully this captures on the microphone. You can make a little song if you want to. Very, very strange. The overall steering wheel feels very dated. Because this was pulled from the original Fisker Karma, it's really a 10, 15-year-old design. And so that's clear here, but the gauge cluster is so new, it's kind of an interesting mix of worlds. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent. Then I have my trunk release and fuel cap release. And then on the door, I actually don't get any buttons besides the door handle to get out is this arrow. Very, very interesting. I do have power mirrors up top if I'd like to adjust that, but that's pretty much it. Moving into the center, I do get 2 climate control vents. The dash is sort of contoured around them, really gives it that exotic, almost Ferrari-like feel. Then we have our central locking button, our hazard switch, and our glove box, which is this incredibly creepy image of a hand. I know it's a glove, like a driving glove, but it just looks awkwardly long. It's like Freddy Krueger or something. However, then we have our infotainment system. This not only runs the infotainment, which does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is fantastic, but this is also your climate controls. Overall, it's a really nice system. It's actually fairly responsive, which was a big criticism that a lot of journalists had about the old Fisker Karma. So this system is actually a lot nicer, and you get a lot of cool modes. I'm just gonna kind of click through a couple interesting things here if you see something you like, but there is a power flow mode that is showing you where the power is coming from with all of these really, really cool graphics that I'm very, very happy to see here in the Karma Revero. Then we do have this little window to the battery pack. Karma and really Fisker were very, very very excited and proud to show you that they were a hybrid. And so showing off the batteries was something that never really caught on, although I thought it would in today's market. But very, very cool to see here. And when you select different gears, it actually lights up in different ways. Then we have the shifter. Very weird. It looks like a Dungeons and Dragons dice. We have our power windows down below, and then we have the cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test for the first time in a Karma vehicle, and unfortunately it fails. Not only the big friggin' bottle, I can handle that. That's fine. I'm a big boy. What's really strange is how small they are. Not only do they not fit the big friggin' bottle, but I would be surprised if they fit most water bottles. I can't even fit my cell phone in the cup holder. So, severely, severely undersized cup holders, which equal a fail. Then we do get a center console with some USB ports and a 12-volt outlet in there. And then we'll talk about the seats. The seats are actually very comfortable. Very much Grand Tour-y seats. And I really, really like to see that. I pleasantly enjoy them. It's been a very comfortable motoring experience here in the Karma Revero, and I wasn't sure it was going to be. However, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so I'm in the back of the Karma Revero from 2018, but barely. My feet can't even sit on the floor because my knees are jammed up against the seat. This is incredibly small. It is a 4-door, but it is very, very deceiving. This is not a good place to be if you have legs, unfortunately. I do get 2 cup holders here. I do have heated seats back here, which is really nice. My window switches, and I get another window to the battery pack. So they're very, very proud to show off the battery pack here in the back of the Karma. I also do get 2 12-volt outlets right here. Kind of interesting. So your charging needs will be met, but other than that, this is an incredibly terrible back seat. Really, truly awful, and I can understand why this was classified as an economy car. But let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. So, interestingly enough, first of all, this is the key. Very, very strange. I do have a trunk popper here, but the key, there's no key loop. So you can't put it on like a chain with a bunch of your other keys. Very weird. But once we are back here, that's it. That's all the space you get. Not a whole lot of space. Obviously, they needed space for battery packs and whatnot. Although I do want to show over here, this is the charge port, and there is DC fast charging available, which the new Prius Prime doesn't even have. So that is very, very nice to see. And one more thing is that these Karma badges, each one is hand painted. So technically no badge on any car is like any other one. Now obviously the design is the same, blah, 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 but they are all hand painted, which is very, very cool to see from the Karma company. Overall, that's it. Kind of crazy. Now we got to talk about the looks, and this is one of the most polarizing parts of the Karma Revero. It looks different and weird and strange, and it looks like an AI car or some car from the Grand Theft Auto video games, because they're not allowed to use real cars, so they have to make them up. This looks like a made-up car, and that is so cool to me. I mean, I personally think that that's super neat. However, I do want to note that on the roof there is a 200-watt solar panel that does in fact charge the battery. Now, according to the owner, if you leave it out all day parked in the sun, bright sunny day, you'll get about 2, maybe 3 miles of extra range. But if you're parked up at work all day and it's a sunny day, or you work in a sunny climate, might as well get those few extra miles, right? It's free anyway, it's from the sun. The wheels are also massive. They are 22-inch wheels, which I didn't realize were that big until I got up close to them and were like, wow, that's all the way past my kneecap. Another thing about the exterior, the exhaust pipes are on the side. This does have side pipes. However, they're incredibly short and right behind the front wheel. So if your engine is on and you're idling in traffic, you're gonna get that nice exhaust smell right in your window. Looks cool, doesn't work. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 2018 Karma Revero? Well, It's so incredibly cool to me. I love cool, interesting, and weird cars. If you're a fan of the channel, you'll know that. I have some weird cars coming out recently. I'm gonna have some more weird cars coming out soon. I love it. They get me excited. They get me out of bed. I woke up at 5:45 a.m. this morning to come out and do this review, and I did not have a single hesitation when it came to the Karma Revero because it's so cool. But what do I think actually driving it? Well, I like it. I like it for sure, but it's definitely very weird. It's a hybrid, but not in a sense that we're typically used to seeing. It has a 2-liter turbo, which is cool, but it only works as a generator. Why it needs a turbocharger, I don't know. And this car is very cool and interesting, but as a product, I can't really see myself buying one or wanting one over other EVs besides just the cool factor. Besides saying, hey, I don't drive a Tesla. I don't drive a Rivian or a Lucid. I drive a Karma Revero. I mean, that alone is a very, very cool party piece, a very cool conversation starter for your next gathering. And what's most interesting to me is that this is a revival of a car made by a different company. It's not like Fisker brought the Karma name back. This was actually made into its own company for the sole purpose of bringing a car back to market that failed so miserably. I mean, shouldn't the writing have been on the wall of why it failed? It's so strange. It's so weird. And that is what really drew me to this review. When my friend Michael texted me and said, hey, I have something you might want to film, I get that text probably once a day from random people. And I go, okay, yeah, sure, what is it? When he sent me a picture of this car, I dropped what I was doing and said, when can we get that thing filmed? And so I'm so thankful that he was able to reach out. I'm so thankful we were able to find a time. This car is incredibly strange, and I'm so glad I was able to share it with you. That was all thank you to Michael. He's been a fantastic asset to the channel, and I can't thank him enough. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.